The revolver, a powerful staple in a lot of games, and the finals is certainly not excluded. In this masterclass video, I'm going to show you guys how this weapon works, why it seems so inconsistent, how to use it at different ranges, what gadgets and specializations to pair with it, and how to train with it in-game, whether you are on a controller or mouse and keyboard, so that you can bring out its potential on a daily basis, and consistently experience that oh so satisfying feeling of 2 to 3 tapping your opponent. It doesn't matter what kind of player you are, I promise you, there is nothing like it. So please smash that like button if you found this video informative, because each little segment takes me legit 2 to 3 hours to edit, and your one like makes it all worth it at the end of the day. Also, subscribe for all things the finals. Regardless, I love you all and appreciate you for even being here in the first place. So let's jump into it. To start, the R.357, in other words the revolver, can do 74 damage per bullet and can crit for a whopping 148 damage, has a fire rate of 180 RPM, taking 2.5 seconds to reload, with a mag size of 6. It can down a light at 0.54 seconds with body shots, a medium at 1.9 seconds with body shots. However, it can kill both light and medium with 2 crits at 0.35 seconds, and a heavy at 1.49 seconds with body shots and 3 crits to a heavy at 0.54 seconds. So in other words, this is your typical high risk, high reward weapon. But why does it sometimes feel like it's not worth the risk to gain that reward? How do we minimize that feeling of helplessness when you either can't get the last shot off or having entire sessions where you can't even land a single shot for the life of you? To answer this, we have to take a closer look at how the gun behaves when it's firing at maximum RPM and where the bullets land versus where they actually land. As most of you already know, the finals utilizes hit scan on the majority of their weapons, including the revolver. So why aren't the bullets after the initial 2 not landing where the reticle intended them to? This is because any shot coming from a hit scan weapon will always land in the center of the screen. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this mechanic because it nudges players to use third-party crosshair softwares that will give them an unfair advantage. However, I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, and to master this weapon, just like all the other weapons, we have to find ways to learn and adapt to our circumstances. This is why I always stress centering for any one of my master classes or aim training guides as an essential warm-up. This is so you can rely on your eyes rather than your reticle to aim, because if you can build a subconscious habit of maintaining your target in the center of the screen, this gun becomes a whole lot more manageable. Don't get me wrong, this is absolutely one of the hardest weapons to conquer, but if you're willing to put in the work, your damage and eliminations will go through the roof. And when this weapon gets buffed, which I know it will, you're going to tear up lobbies like paper. That's a promise. So now that we understand how the reticle deceives you, what can we do to mitigate this? Target acquisition, pacing, and patience is so critical for this weapon. Being able to acquire the target, center it, then go into ADS is extremely important. As a matter of fact, your efficiency when doing this sequence will dictate whether you live or die, because every millisecond counts, and you don't have that forgiveness that automatic weapons with more bullets in the mag provide. Then, after landing that first shot, you have to worry about consistently hitting that second or third shot to finish off your target, which is where the true skill for this weapon resides. This is where pacing comes into play. The proper pacing will ensure that your second and third bullet land exactly where the reticle intended them to. You need to find a rhythm that allows this gun to reset its recoil, even if it's at the cost of time to kill, because just like the 1887 shotgun, the revolver has 2-tap potential for both medium as well as light, making it extremely deadly if you can maintain your composure under pressure. I'll be honest with you, out of every gun in the game, learning this habit is insanely hard. But don't worry, in this in-game training routine that I have for you later in the video, we're going to find that pace and ingrain it into our shot pattern so that we can subconsciously use it in every engagement. This will help us mitigate our fight or flight responses and help us realize that in order for us to get the result that we want, we need to patiently time our shots so that it has the highest chance of landing or does as much damage as possible, aka crit. Now, even though the revolver has more range than the 1887, and if you crit at a long range consecutively, your time to kill and effective range could rival that of the FCAR or even FAMAS. That's hypothetically speaking, of course, because when applied in a live engagement, you're not going to be hitting those shots back to back to back at extreme ranges, unless you're taking your time aiming and lining up your shot perfectly, which would make you more than likely vulnerable to be flanked or easily downed by one of the many powerful ranged weapons in the game. Yes, you may get some lucky shots here and there, 2-tapping a light from a mile away, but believe me when I say this, 7 out of 10 times you challenge a player at far range that is using an FCAR, FAMAS, XP54, Lewis gun, or M60, you will more than likely lose that engagement. So, we have to set our expectations for something that is realistically obtainable and where the strength of this weapon truly lies, which is the mid-range. This will give us room for error in case we don't land our crits by giving us the full amount of body damage that this gun is able to provide. We have to adapt the same playstyle as the 1887 by utilizing as much cover and enclosed routes as possible when making our way to the opponent. In fact, I would go as far to say that utilizing as much cover as possible is of the utmost importance, and how you use it in tandem with your shot pace will dictate your efficiency with this weapon. In other words, being able to peek shot by quickly finding angles before engaging an opponent is a skill trait that matters more for the R.357 than most weapons in the game. What peek shotting allows you to do is output the maximum amount of damage while mitigating the damage received, and it not only allows you to reload in safety but prepare for the next engagement. Now, peek shotting is great and all, but what do we do when we have an opponent that's moving at a high velocity, coming in fast and close? Well, yes, we can obviously utilize hip firing, but just like the LH1, you quite literally have to be in your opponent's face for those shots to land, because the bullet dispersion is quite outrageous. So crouching to tighten up the bullet spread is almost a must, but I wouldn't really say that's a bad thing. And to be totally honest, shooting this way was probably the most fun I've had with this weapon, being that it makes you feel like a legit gunslinger when you're doing it. The funny thing is that if you thought crouched hip firing is only effective when you're in close range, well, guess again. You can quite literally land shots at medium range quite easily. The only problem that I have is the time it takes for the bullet dispersion to tighten up, and that split second could unfortunately cause you an engagement. But here's the question though, is it as effective as aiming down sights while standing? Maybe. Maybe not. But is it fun as hell? Fuck yeah it is, and I highly suggest that you guys give it a try. Anyhow, when you're close, but not extremely close, there is another option you can utilize. This method is called snap firing. This is when you acquire the target, center it, go into ADS, and fire 1 to 2 bullets, then go back out of ADS to recenter the target and repeat the process, all while trying to put more distance between you and the opponent. This can be used in close and medium ranges, and is slightly more effective on controller due to the aim snap mechanic, which will help you reacquire the target if your reticle is close enough, without making those micro adjustments yourself. However, please be aware if you're using controller, try your best to single out the target, because if they have a teammate next to them and if they overlap, aim assist will take over and quite literally take your reticle off the target. This is particularly damning because this gun not only demands extreme accuracy, but again only has 6 bullets in the mag. Now that we know how to optimize the revolver in different engagements, what specializations and gadgets can we pair with it to further enhance its capabilities? As for gadgets, I'll always recommend using both the zipline and jump pad for any high damage close to mid-range medium weapons. This not only serves the purpose of closing the gap, but also serves as a way to retreat or break the line of sight. With that being said, the dematerializer also serves the same purpose, but more importantly can create angles that provide opportunities for clean headshots, without raising the enemy's awareness, allowing you to snag an easy kill or for your team to come in for an even easier cleanup. You can always adjust the gadgets or specializations to suit your playstyle. You don't necessarily need to use all 3 while playing. Just the dematerializer or one of the 2 gadgets will be enough. Now, before we move on to our in-game training routine, there are a few terms you're going to need to understand in order to properly perform these scenarios. The first is model aiming. This is where you focus on the character model when aiming, rather than waiting for the reticle to line up with the target. The next is static tracking. This is when your reticle is stationary with very little dynamic adjustments, and you are essentially utilizing movement to follow and track your target. It is also widely known as mirroring. These 2 techniques are going to be what you will be utilizing for the majority of the routine, especially when it comes to engaging targets just outside of close range, all the way to medium range. Now that we have that out of the way, let's jump into it. 3, 2, 1. The first thing we're going to do is find a target. I prefer this one right here, and we're going to get used to the pace at mid-range. This will allow the weapon to fully reset and gain its initial accuracy. There is one major reason as to why players miss shots with this weapon, and that is when the player tries to fire beyond the weapon's RPM, thus not allowing the weapon to fully reset and just assume the bullet trajectory is where the iron sights is rather than the true center of the screen. Spend 3 minutes on this warm-up before moving on to the first scenario. If you guys have watched my aim training guides or Ultimate Masterclass videos, you guys already know we're starting with centering. But instead of being a warm-up, this will be considered your first scenario. Because centering is so important and vital to this weapon, we are going to dedicate the majority of the routine to it. So now we're going to use a stationary target in the back and move around the target while keeping it centered, going in and out of ADS with long 1-second strides from side to side, heavily utilizing crouching while in hipfire to get used to centering in that position. This is to make you as elusive as possible, because when there is no cover around, raising your survivability and margin for error is so vital for the revolver. I want you to do this for 2 2.5 minutes. Now we're going to move back to the far end of medium range and do the same thing for 2.5 minutes as well. When you're done with that, we're going to stay at this range, apply what we just did in the last exercise. I want you to first center the target, aim down sights, focusing on the character model, aka model aiming, rather than focusing on the reticle, and fire at collarbone level while maintaining pace. This should provide you with a little more room for error and increase the possibility of landing crits. However, if this is too hard for you, you can focus fire at the lower chest and then gradually move up to the collarbone. I want you to 3 to 4 tap each target. If that is not achieved, reload and start again. An alternative version for this exercise is to do it while in hip fire, just follow the exact same steps but leave out aiming down sights. Eliminate 15 targets before moving on. For the next scenario, we're going to be making our way to the first moving target, utilizing the same distance that we did before on the far side of medium range. I want you to dynamically track and eliminate 10 targets while stationary and also keeping pace, keeping the target centered on the screen and utilizing model tracking to aim rather than strictly focusing on the iron sights. Now we're going to add a layer of movement. Find and acquire the target, center it while focusing on the model, utilizing our movement now to track, and keeping our reticle as stationary as possible, only making minor dynamic micro adjustments to maintain and keep up with the target's movements. This is essentially known as static tracking. In most engagements, I would always recommend against this and tell you guys to use counter-strafing. However, the benefit of being a little more elusive does not outweigh the negative of missing shots, because missing even a single bullet could determine whether or not you come out alive from that engagement. What I'm trying to say is I'd rather you take a couple of hits if it means it gives you a drastically higher chance of hitting 1 to 2 crits within your mag, because even one crit with this weapon can do devastating damage to your opponent, leaving them at the very least an easy cleanup. Eliminate 15 targets before moving on. For the next scenario, you're going to either grab a goo grenade or canister and throw it in front of you so that the wall runs parallel to the yellow barrier in front of you. Now you're going to aim at the same moving targets and shoot 3 bullets before retreating back behind the wall. This is to practice peek shotting and train you to reacquire your target faster once you come out of cover. You're going to eliminate 5 moving targets on each side before moving on. Now this next scenario is going to feel like a target switching scenario, but I can assure you it is not, and should be regarded as a tracking scenario. You're going to stand still at this distance, aim down sights, utilize model aiming to lock on and center each target, then alternate shots between the two. This is to simulate a generic strafe while utilizing our pace. I want you to do this for 2.5 minutes. And for the next part, we're going to perform the exact same task, but now we're going to add a layer of movement. Again, I highly recommend static tracking, utilizing your movement and model aiming to lock on and maintain centering on your target. Do this for 2.5 minutes before moving on to our final scenario. Now to finish strong, we're going to work on target switching and acquisition. We're going to position ourselves right here, making 1 second strays from left to right and shooting each target between the first and last moving target. You don't need to worry about whether or not you're static or dynamically tracking. The thing I want you to focus on here is first acquiring, centering the target, then fire, and when switching, utilize model aiming to smoothly make your way to the next target. Then repeat the steps again. Now while you're doing this entire sequence, I want you to also keep in mind where your next destination will be before you even fire. Doing this smoothly and efficiently without overshooting your target is what creates those flashy flicks that you see a lot of your favorite streamers do. What may seem fast to you is most likely perceived slower and smooth for them. I want you to remember the speed of a flick, in other words, a target transition, is determined by the player's skill level and their ability to register a target out of the environment. I want you guys to do this for 3 minutes to wrap up this routine. Now before I finish up this video, I need to provide you guys with a disclaimer to set realistic expectations. Like I said in the beginning of this video, this weapon is fun and satisfying, but incredibly hard to use. After using this weapon for over 100 hours with 500 kills, I can confidently say it will be a huge investment on the player's end and results won't come instantly. It will take more than a few days depending on how consistently you do this routine and how much the weapon is used in each session. I like to consider training with this weapon a long-term investment though, because I can guarantee you it is not at its final form. It is one of the most underutilized weapons for the past 2 seasons, and I doubt the devs want it to stay that way. Anyways, I appreciate you guys for making it this far and spending your time watching this video. So if you found it informative, please smash that like button and subscribe for all things the finals. Also, if you want to see more Masterclass videos, here's the official playlist for all my Ultimate Weapon Masterclass guides. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the arena. Peace and love.